we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, welcome to the program. February the 10th, you're the Editor-in-Chief. Good evening.
Duncan Garner, live.
G'day, everybody. I'm Duncan Garner. Welcome. How stupid was David Seymour writing that letter to the police advocating for Auckland Eye surgeon Philip Polkinghorne, who was later charged but cleared of murdering his wife? He was lucky not to be sacked by the Prime Minister, Seymour. The stability of the government could have come under genuine threat. Not just stupid, but just the dumbest thing I think Seymour's done since becoming an MP. And the return of New Zealand's nicest man to a place he describes as home. Simon Barnett is back on More FM, but boy, this guy's had a tough time nursing his wife Jodie as she succumbed to brain cancer, supporting and loving his 4 daughters. I have found his story, his strength, his willingness to share so publicly helpful and really inspirational. The guy would do the radio show from his garage, and in the short breaks would dash inside the house to check on her. In, out. She was dying and had to somehow keep returning to the airwaves. How did he do it? How is he now? Why leave talkback? What's it like to be back with the crew? So we'll catch up with Simon Barnett at home. Very, very shortly, get in touch through our social media, Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, or flick me an email, duncan@rover.nz. Great TV company.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, let's kick it off.
It's the Slam Dunk.
So Simon Barnett standing by. We'll get to him in a tick. But David Seymour, he was just dumb writing such a long 1,000-word letter to the New Zealand police in support of Auckland Eye surgeon Philip Polkinghorne, just 4 months before he was officially charged with wife Pauline Hanna's murder. It went way beyond what Seymour claims it was. He claims he was passing on Polkinghorne's concerns over how he was treated. But that's disingenuous of Seymour. Utter bullshit. Over 1,000 words, he goes into intricate details about the many alleged failings of the police and associated agencies. And at one stage, even questions why Polkinghorne had to suffer the indignation of being put inside a police car for all of 15 minutes in an unshowered state. Someone's died here, and Polkinghorne was the only other person inside the house. He was lucky that's what he's got to moan about. Many others have faced all sorts of charges that see them held in custody before any trial. A 15-minute wait inside a police car? Come on. Seymour is stupid and dumb for this letter because it goes way beyond just passing on the concerns of a constituent. Most MPs, when replying to members of the public, keep their letters short and sweet, like your correspondence has been noted. In fact, some don't do enough or even reply at all. They certainly really get such a royal red carpet service like Seymour gave Polkinghorne, and especially given the circumstances where his wife died. And police, of course, are treating him as a suspect. What the hell was Seymour thinking? The real victims of crime get treated way worse, and their requests of MPs and agencies too often fall on deaf ears. So many people tell me they've written to MPs and ministers and they never hear back. Yet here we have a prime suspect about to be charged in the most salacious alleged murder plot in Auckland in decades, and Seymour makes the call to go and debate for him, falling over himself to help this guy who many concluded was already a first-class scumbag anyway with the details that had come out. Where was Seymour's political radar? Did he sit down with Polkinghorne beforehand? When, where, and for how long? Is he an act donor? Had Seymour been a minister at the time and written the letter, he would have been sacked by the Prime Minister hands down. And the Prime Minister needs to be more public in shooting down Seymour over this judgment. Ministers hold significant powers through their warrants, and they simply can't get away with writing such letters to the New Zealand police. It looks like they're trying to change the course of an investigation. I think MPs probably should be covered by that rule too. MPs are perceived to be influential. Any advocacy like this needs to be rare. Remember, Seymour is about to become the Deputy Prime Minister. Imagine if he'd written that as a minister. He would not just be sacked, but he could have collapsed the government, because the government would then be losing the leader of one of the 3 parties who signed up to the coalition. It would have triggered much instability and uncertainty anyway. Maurice Williamson was a minister. He asked the police about a specific criminal case of a constituent. Key sacked him on the spot, saying the rules are clear, you can't do this. It's such dangerous territory. Former cop, senior MP and assistant speaker at the time of this, Ian Revel, wrote to the police seriously questioning a speeding ticket. So foolish from someone in such high office. Stupid, dumb, and a failed attempt at bullying because don't you know who I am? He had to resign too. But Seymour was just an MP in 2022. Not yet a minister, albeit he was a senior MP and a leader of a party. The red alarm bells should have been going full noise in his face and in the face of those who work with him. Did his staff know that he was getting involved in this? It's a punch to his own nose for this one, the work of an amateur, the work of a rank, ignorant and naive novice. He should have said to Polkinghorne, I know your concerns, you haven't been charged, you remain a free man, but guilty in the eyes of the public. You've been a meth user. If I was you, pal, I'd shut up and keep your head down and pray furiously that the knock on the door from the men in blue never comes. But instead he provided this line-by-line breakdown, this forensic list of unproven moans and groans from Polkinghorne to the police under his own name. It carries weight. It's Seymour. It does carry weight. Seymour's a senior MP. Polkinghorne at the time was being ignored by everyone else, so Seymour was his last option. MPs rarely fall over themselves with such unproven and untested breathless abandon like Seymour did for this bloke. I get approached often from people in jail or about to be in jail for me to advocate for them. I look carefully at it, and if I can help, I'm honest about it. If I can't, I won't. I was once approached by an evil man, double murderer Bruce House, who rightly rots in jail for the double murder of his 2 teenage stepdaughters, who he was abusing at the time, if I could help him. He said he was innocent. I needed to help him. I said no, he wasn't. Take a hike, pal, was my reply. The guy was a sexual abuser and a murderer. Likewise, I was asked by an acquaintance who had a couple of gang member friends if I'd go into bat for a senior jailed gang member, friend of theirs, who was dying and wanted early compassionate release. I checked out who he was. Given his gang links, his crimes, and his unrepentant attitude, his feared reputation, I straight up and told my friend, sorry, I can't be associated with this request. MPs simply get so much correspondence and almost too many approaches, they don't know what to do with it, so they don't reply at all. They very rarely have time to do what Seymour did. Remember, this is not some old Joe local voter. This is a wealthy, high-profile man under police watch and investigation who was a suspect over his wife's death. Polkinghorne was the only other person with her around the time she died. Now, Seymour is not a naive fool prone to misjudgments, Eugene. What did he get out of such advocacy? What was the upside for doing something that was so risky? And likely to be seen by the public at large as a serious misjudgment, the wrong guy to back. Would Seymour have done the same for a local beneficiary who felt blighted by the system? Or would he do it for a local who had a battle with ACC? Would he do it for the local mining guy who feels, the last 185 years, something hasn't been right? Man, his land's been stolen. He's failed to get ahead. Discrimination's held him back. Would Seymour advocate for him and others with such gusto? The PM should call Seymour into his office and just remind him how unwise it was to do this and to get involved in such advocacy again. Remind him in 12 weeks he becomes the Deputy Prime Minister. And the stakes then are really, really high.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, before we head to Simon, Isaac, did you follow that Polkinghorne case?
Oh, briefly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all over the place. It was kind of hard to not follow it, really.
Wasn't it, though? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
man, would you go into bat for a guy like that?
Oh, no.
It's just poison.
Like,
You've got to be careful.
But it's not even being careful. It's about using common sense.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. It's just pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, look, I expect the Māori Party to go into bat for their people, right? And often you'd think they'd get in trouble advocating for the wrong person. They very rarely do. This is why Seymour, he should have known better,
Yeah, and it's not like it was a rights issue or anything like that. Like, the guy he's a suspect for murder. You can't.
Yeah, I was there when Williamson got nailed. Key was brutal. Callous, bang, gone. You had to be. You just can't, it's about pulling influence. Anyway, let's go.
Duncan Garner, live.
Looking forward to this. Simon Barnett has returned to More FM after a stint in Talkback at News Talk ZB. He says he really feels like he's come home. But he has come home, but he's come home without his most loyal supporter and the love of his life, his wife Jodie, who died 18 months ago. She had a brain tumour. And Simon moved his radio studio into the family garage. And during the ad breaks, he'd race out. And she wasn't speaking at this point, and he would be nursing her during the breaks to check on her and check she had what she needed and was comfortable and out of pain. It must have been agonisingly hard. All those emotions, yet still working and trying to fit everything in and care for his beloved wife. He spoke so bravely about his loss and love and admiration for Jodie while he was on air. He coped with all this while having to front publicly every day. Personally, I found his story compelling. I found him inspiring and even helpful. I was on TV and radio every day as I nursed and stood by my dad when he died. Some days I didn't want to be there. Likewise, going through a divorce, you had to front publicly, no matter how bent and twisted and upsetting it had all become. Simon, to me, is an inspiration. He says it was simply hard to be professional at times. I know that. The thing about Simon is his genuineness, his niceness, and his authenticity is without question. Simon, welcome to the podcast. G'day.
G'day, Duncan. Hey, thank you for your lovely email. I genuinely meant what I said. It was very kind of to write those words. They were. I knew you meant them, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, I've had a few tough years, and again, I've got one of my best mates has been diagnosed, and he's got months to live with a cancer. He's 52, mate. He made all his money in Dubai as a lawyer. He's done really well. Come back with 3 kids, and he's got months. I've sent him home for palliative care. It's so disappointing,
It's horrendous.
But I found you so compelling, and the way you dealt with it, because you never ever recover from a loss like this, and so I just found it inspiring, and it helped me get through some stuff,
Well, that really means a lot. I really appreciate it. I love to say I spoke out and stuff to encourage others, but I didn't really. It was probably more healing. Well, I don't even know if healing's the right word, Duncan. It was more. I was going to say it's not cathartic. I don't know what it is. It's probably me just using the audience and people as a bit of a couch in a way, because
Totally is.
it's very real. I've never been one to hide what I'm feeling. You know, my wife used to struggle with the fact that I was always so open,
Yeah.
but it's just who I am. And I suppose I loved her so much. So it's been
Oh,
horrendous.
you really did, and so I found that too with Dad's death and divorce and everything. I've used the audience as a sounding board. You know, you're just up front with them, and I think they appreciate your honest vulnerability, because everyone's been in a situation. You know, everyone's lost someone at some stage, right? And so they know. People get it. If you don't come across as like that at all, and you're just sort of a robot, people don't even know you. They'll never know you.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because like I was at the gym and a guy came up to me, and I've had this a lot, and he said, mate, I'm so sorry about your wife. By the way, I'll start by saying I cry heaps still, because I'm still fragile. So forgive me if I cry. None of it's premeditated or manufactured. It's just,
I get it, man.
it's when I talk about this stuff, it's very, very real, and it's kind of like it was yesterday. And there's so much of the 6-year journey with Jodes and the kids that's still exceptionally raw. But anyway, so
and
this
it
guy
should
comes
be.
up
It
and-
should be, Simon. I mean, it will always. Yeah.
And this guy came up and he said, so sorry about your wife. And I hear that a lot, and I'm very grateful for that support. It's never a bother. It's actually lovely that people felt invested in it, Duncan.
Yeah.
And then he goes, my daughter was killed in a car accident 4 years ago. And I'm like, so suddenly a complete stranger turns into somebody I really care about.
Yeah, you're
And
right
I'm
too.
in an instant. And this is the difference with this kind of grief. In an instant, we become exceptionally close. And that's not cliched and it's not trite. There's something deeply connected because of that pain. And I said, mate, I am so sorry. I mean,
What do you say?
there are words for that stuff. And he said, you know, and this is what really resonated with me, Dan. He said, I think it's like if you're an astronaut and you walk on the moon, you really only want to talk to other astronauts. and it's sort of an unusual analogy, but it's probably true in some respects, because, yeah, like when you've gone through this and all the associated stuff, it's not just the cancer and it's not just the death. It's the MRI scans and literally waiting by Jodie's bed. That's
Yeah.
the oncologist and the neurosurgeon to call. And you've got your kids there. I couldn't do it, man. I was gutless as. I was gutless. I said to my daughters, thankfully they're heroes. And I said, look, Dad can't do it. I'm just going to go and wait in the lounge. And then I'd wait in the lounge with my heart in my mouth. And that's the stuff, mate. It's that waiting for results, getting results, and it fluctuates. You know, we had just wonderful results sometimes where it hadn't progressed, took them all by surprise. I got off and I said, Jodie, you're a hero.
Yeah.
And then you wait for another 6 weeks and she'd have a seizure and would go, oh no, what's happened here? Or I watched her like a hawk. And so I remember driving back from Queenstown and I saw her arm just flop. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Does this mean this thing's come back? And, you know, so you go and get tests, and sure enough. So it's that's debilitating, but man.
It's paralysing, because Dad was given 9 months, and we might as well carry on, Simon. Welcome to the podcast, because we're talking, and this is real. And I remember Dad, you know, he got 9 months to live. He lasted, I think, 9 months 2 days, because you know, he described himself as a shot bird. He wasn't positive in any way. Mum, I never really talked about this. Mum was battling breast cancer at the same time. I had both my parents facing death.
Gosh.
You know, and I didn't want to go to the hospital with them. I found that, like you, queasy and difficult, but I did go, and I saw at one stage the cancer going up his body. It was bubbling. It was popping, you know, as it left his kidneys into his back and neck. And it's just, it is 15 years for me. I held his hand as he died under his hospice bed. You just never forget it.
You just never forget it. And yep, that's exactly right. And I had, so again, I'm sort of loath, in a way, I feel very embarrassed about this. And I'm not a guy that gets embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to talk about it so much, because many people have asked about it, and, journalists have done stories on it. And I'm fearful, Duncan, that people go, would you shut up already, Simon? You're not the only one. I really feel that acutely. And I've spoken with Lana, my co-host at the radio station at More FM, and I've said, Lance, please tell me if you think, and they assure me that it's not. And it's not like I want to talk about it. It's just people are invested, because I don't know why this is, Duncan, but I'm actually very proud of it and thankful for it, that people have seemed like they really cared about Jodie and I. And, that, I talked a lot about her when everything was good. She was the love of my life. She was my inspiration. She was my soulmate. Your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions, right? She was that. She was my mind. She was my will. She was my emotion. So when, she got this, just in 1 second, she's never drunk alcohol in her life because she's Chinese, so she had the Chinese gene, she couldn't, never smoked, fit as a fiddle. She was in bed one morning with me, we were just sitting there in bed laughing, and then she just had this almighty seizure, and that set about the most disastrous chain of events with this diagnosis of glioblastoma. And anybody that knows brain cancer, glioblastoma is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
Don't quote me exactly, but 90% of people are dead within a year. 96% are dead within 2 years. There's no cure.
But your love and attention and affection and your care and you and the girls, I mean, and her strength as well. She fought so hard, but your positive and your love, I think, was part of the story. So many relationships break up so quickly these days. We chop and change, and this, it's just so, it's old school, and it's values, and it's love, and it's affection, and it's care. It's good.
That's so true. You say old school. I know some people will hate me saying this, but we were so old school. Like, I worked hard. I was ambitious, and Jodie was just absolutely supportive of me. She was a pharmacist, so way brighter than me. She was exceptionally bright. She was the dux of her school at Iona Girls. She was, honestly, Duncan, she was an academic. She was fiercely intelligent. Me, kind of not so much. But she was just so happy to sink her life into being a mum and a wife. And other people looked down on her. She never did. Other people said to her, why don't you start your own pharmacy? Why don't you do that? I want to be a mum. I want to be a wife to Simon. Now, some people felt that was demeaning of herself, but she saw and wanted to elevate the role of the mums and the wives.
It's the biggest sacrifice anyone makes. I look at my mum, who's my hero. The sacrifice of a real great mother and wife is huge.
Huge. And the results from that sacrifice last for generations, because our daughters have all been reasonably successful. They're all exceptionally well adjusted, and they contribute to society and are competent women. And 2 of them are doctors, and again, that's Jodie's science bent, whereas I was hoping they'd go into sports, but or broadcasting. There's a bit of a deep emo.
I think you've done it right. but
yeah. So it was all that. She was just my whole world, Duncan. So I had a lot of time to think, if things went awry, what the heck would my life look like? And I really did. I used to lie awake at night, and Jode would be asleep. And the brain cancer took so much. Sorry, this is really self-indulgent, but this does help me. So if anyone's going, oh, shut up, so this is helping me. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
But her speech, it took her movement. She couldn't talk to me. So
how did you communicate? Because I bet you found a way.
We did, mate. We did. We just spoke. She spoke volumes to me. She would just pat my face, and I'd say to her, honey, I'm sorry for all the things I did that weren't appropriate. Like if I worked too much and I wasn't there for you, and I didn't acknowledge how much you did. I sort of wanted to say sorry to all that, and she'd just pat my face. She'd go, definitely. And that was one word she could say, was definitely, but it came out at definitely. And that was all she could say, definitely. She did start off, right at the start of the journey, she was able to say, and it was just meant the world to me, Duncan. She would look at me and she'd just go, I love you.
Yeah.
And I just, honestly, mate, I just dissolved. She never cried, ever. Oh, that's not true. One time I wasn't there. My daughter was buying a house with her husband, and I went in to look at it. Jodie couldn't because she was in a wheelchair and she didn't want to come in. She was tired. So she stayed in the car with my other daughter, and I went in, and unbeknownst to me, she started crying in the car and just pointed at me and basically as much as she could said to my daughter, I just don't want to leave him. And that's Stop.
No, it's all good. No, look, Simon, because what I also saw in you during this time was it took me a while to work this out, but you had your studio in your garage, and you would in the ad breaks rush through to make sure she was okay. It is just unwavering commitment and love, and you were still working. You had to go from the heartache and the pain, as your wife slipped away, and then you were back on air. I remember doing this a bit with Dad, having to, I'd be out with them all night and then have to go to work in front. And sometimes, and I think you said I just didn't want to be professional at times, but you always were, and it's just so hard, isn't it? And sharing with the public helps. I find it helps. But sometimes you just want to say, I can't do this anymore.
Well, that's where I've got to say, News Talk ZB were, obviously this was very hard, I can't speak too much to this because it was difficult for them when I left because they felt like I'd let them down, and I think that's very fair. They have every right to feel that. But then I also was I explained to them over and over, I just couldn't stay doing talkback. ZB, as you know, Duncan's a behemoth. What they do, they are just so good at it. They are so good at it. But I couldn't cope with the talk back, and you know what that's like. Better than most people, 99% of people, you've done it. It's really, really hard, and it's all over you. News has constantly got its hands around your throat. Yeah. You've got to be abreast of everything, and then when you're doing talkback as well, it can be quite combative. And I was just like, oh man, I can't do this. My head just isn't up for this. Yeah, he
has been in the right space. So I'd walk away some days. It was so spine tingling, some of the calls, that I'd pause for 20 minutes before I left the studio, and I'd get my goosebumps and everything. And I took it so seriously. I'd get people's numbers and ring them the next day to make sure they were okay. A woman in Tauranga who was wanting to take her own life. I got that invested, Simon. I know how taxing. Other stuff going on. It's two balls in the air. It simply isn't sustainable.
No, and so that's exactly, and so that was the thing, that's why that all transpired, and it's been really good to me to go to More FM. They've been very good to me as well, and they were very good when Jode got sick. It's a hell of a long story. I could talk to you for 4 hours. Everybody would tune out, but it's,
I don't know.
No, they would. But that MediaWorks have been very good to me as well. So it's like I'm very thankful for that. But it's just good to laugh again, Duncan. And some of it, I wouldn't say it's forced at all, because Lana and Speedy and Bondi are just amazing people. They're good people, really good people. So that helps. We're not doing talkback. I have the sense of humour of a 15-year-old schoolboy. Always have.
I've been listening. But it's you.
Well,
but that's you.
Yeah. That's me.
But I thought you were very good at ZB too, because I used to listen to you and James, and I really enjoyed you in that role. I thought you were bloody great. But,
that's very kind. I wasn't a good talkback host, I don't think, because I'm not a stake in the ground guy, Duncan.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that, but then you give your opinion, and that's you.
Yeah, true.
Some guys are so stake in the ground they think they have to keep making that stake to prove something, but they're actually not like that. So no, I think it's more authentic, your approach.
Thank you.
So it was hard to leave ZB.
Well, it was hard because I really liked the people. I couldn't handle the job, so that was hard. And also, when you leave a station and they expected me to stay, and so that's real messy, And anybody that's been through a contract, I didn't my contract. I served it out. I just didn't renew, and that can get real messy because they just felt like I'd let them down. And I explained, hey, my head's blown to pieces here. I've just got to try and save myself. Really,
I think they'd understand that.
I've been going back to Jody. Without a word of a lie. People will think this is a lie. I did breakfast radio for 34 years. Jody would get up every morning, every single morning, and she would ring me on the way to work. And I would get in the car, and her number and name would come up, Jody calling, on my screen in the car. Every morning, even though I'd been married for 1,000 years, I'd see her name, and just seeing her name, my heart would lift. Hey, love. Hi, sweet. And then we'd pray on the way to work. And, we would just talk and chat and get to work. She'd hang up. And then I'd come home and I'd go, did you hear what we did at 7:10? She goes, yeah. And I said, because I'm insecure. So I'd go, I thought it took too much stuff. And she'd go, no, you didn't. It was great. So did you hear at 20 to 8? Did you hear at 8:10? She'd be like my content director.
Yeah.
Every single day. So starting back now again at More FM and driving the same route to work, I look at the screen, willing it to bring Jody calling. Of course, not going to happen. And but I'd chat away with Jody in the car, and Yeah, my faith's been, again, I'm not going to proselytize or anything like that, but my faith and the kids' faith, that's what's got us through, Duncan.
Yeah,
I
bet.
just couldn't have done it without God, and that sense, the sense of hope, that I said to someone recently, I said, well, what is faith to you? And I said, well, the Bible says faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. And I thought the Bible says that itself. So I'm like, okay, I've got to be sure of what I hope for, that I'll be with Joey again, certain of what I can't see. I can't see her, but I long to hold her. I long to cuddle her and kiss her and tell her everything.
And with that
again.
faith, and my mother follows this, follows faith in that way too, and so she believes that she'll see Dad again and that sort of thing. And so I questioned her about this, and she's adamant. So she has hope. And but I then say to my mum, which I'll say to you, then how come the good ones were taken? Because my dad was a good man, loyal man. They were married 45 years. They'd still be married today, 60 years. Why were people like Jody, people like my dad, good, really good, grounded, amazing people, doing great things in the world for people, kind and not nasty and not evil? And why? Why
Exactly,
take them?
mate. It is an absolute mystery, and I've wrestled with it. Don't get me wrong. Like, well, faith's critical to me, but don't think for 1 second I haven't literally cried out to God, begged God, say, Lord, how could you? You're all powerful, supposedly. You could stop this, and you didn't.
So why?
I know that God could have, but He didn't. I've had so many people, I'm sure, with talk back and all sorts over the years say, oh, you believe in a fantasy. I suppose you believe in this and that and the other thing. I actually get it. I get why people get real angry with God or say, what a joke. It's just, but then, I've spoken with molecular scientists, I've spoken with biochemists, and none of them can say where the first single cell came from. And I've really investigated this. So I look at the stars and the universe, and I look how it's all in order, and I'm like, holy crap. So if I could put on a page how much I knew about the world and the universe, it would be like less than a pinprick. So I have to trust that God's bigger than me and understands it. But it's just exceptionally painful.
We're part of something massive. We're small. My dad, as he died, he actually saw something. He said that he could see his mother. So he believed he believed there was a pathway and things. So there's a bit of hope there.
Yeah.
So I've sort of hung to that.
I read a lot of C.S. Lewis, and I don't know if you know his stuff,
Yes.
but he's real good, and he's got a great quote, and he says, I believe in Christianity as I believe the sun rises every morning, not because I see it, but because by it I see everything.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful to me, and I guess that's how my faith works. I choose to look through the world through faith, and when I see evil, I go, that's just, how does that happen? But that's evil, and
that's humanity, that's human beings. I mean, we can be quite twisted. You can do all the right things all your life and then get a nasty diagnosis and a horrible end. And it's always,
that's the bit I wrestled with the most when I saw the way it all unfolded. I'm like, God, how to a woman like that, the most precious, beautiful soul, but I choose to believe that she's more alive now than ever, and that's I focus on that.
I love it that she listened so intently, and she was your content director. That has pros and cons. And when all things were going really well in my marriage, I had the same, and I would, and she would listen right throughout, take notes, and then when I got home, would hit me up about something. You said that car was blue, not green, and but it's and she was so supportive of me at those times, and it's just so great having someone so invested in you that keeps it on you. When you just talk about something with the kids they don't like, and then they say, "What do you say it for?" So you're constantly. I bet you have suffered that over the years too.
Yeah, well, that's it. And if you've got a partner like that, like I sort of know that my life will never be as good as it was, and that's quite a hard thing to reconcile with in my head.
Yeah,
because I don't know what's around the corner. But this is where going to see a counsellor was very good, and I've been an alpha male, Duncan. I was like, okay, well, a counsellor can't bring Jody back, and that's the only thing that's going to get me through this.
I've been to counselling; they help.
But he did. I've spoken about it to somebody else. And I said, look, does this ever get any better? And I was sobbing like a baby. And I said, the grief. And he said, the grief will get better. And I said, how? And he did this demonstration. It was real good. He said, at the moment, this is your grief. The fist is your grief. And that's all you can see. It's all you can see in your world, which was so true. And then he said, what happens over time is this. And he drew his fist away. And he said, notice the fist hasn't changed size. But with the benefit of time, you have the ability to see more around the grief. So the grief never changes, and it was such a good analogy for me. because the grief is still as palpable as it was back in the day. But now, a year and a month in, I can see more around it. And the other thing, Duncan, that was real hard for me is I sort of felt really acutely like I don't want to let go of the pain, because if I let go of the pain, would that mean that I'm letting go of Jodie? Would she somehow be that love dissipating and that relationship dissipating over time? I didn't want that, and I said I don't want to let go of the pain. He said, don't confuse the pain with love. And he said, if somebody had the ability in 30 years from now, no matter what's happened to you, even if you win lotto, if you get a new job, if you take Duncan Garner's podcast over and take over the world, no matter what happens in your life, in 30 years from now, if somebody could say, will you take Jodie back? You will always answer yes. And that brought me so much comfort, because that to me honors my wife. I will and would, even though it's totally hypothetical, I would answer yes to that. I'll always have her
Well, you
back.
said you said you'd hand back. You said, I think you told the Ashburton Times or Guardian, whatever they called it, that you would give back everything, any money that you have, your car, your house, your batch, whatever, and live in a tent for the next 30 years as long as Jodie was in it with
You're
you.
good. That's exactly what I said, and I've meditated on that, mate. I tried to bargain with God. I said, God, take everything from me.
You wanted to do a deal.
Take everything. Strip everything away. And I literally, mate, I said, I will live in a tent paying camp fees for the rest of my life if I could have her. Wasn't to be. Because actually I'm a person that can speak to this. Really material things mean jack all. They just mean jack all, because they're nice to have nice things, but they don't mean anything in terms of the love of your life and that connection and that harmony.
The material things, and that's a really good point you make. Material things are swappable, tradable, and while they feel nice and it's great, something new, shiny, it doesn't mean anything to you 15 years down the track.
It really doesn't.
Your health and your relationship, your health and your health and your ability to stay on planet Earth is all that matters. It's all that matters.
It's also a weird thing being on your own. I'm not good at being on my own, so. I used to love going out to dinner and having a glass of wine. I love going to movies, and I'm really hopeless at being on my own.
Yeah.
So I don't do that, and that's that's a real tricky one.
I can talk about that with you, because I've been on my own for 5 years, because I'm lacking trust in people and things. So I'm just and I want to focus on my kids. So I'm just really focused on that. And recently I was in Australia with my son and his mate. We took a mate of his, and the 14-year-old boys, and they were out doing lots of things.
I read about you. I've read your story. You're a very good writer.
Oh, thank you. And I found I really realised that I was on my own. I had 10 days where boys were there, but they weren't not interested in me. They're going out there looking at girls in the surf and stuff. Good on them. That's what they do. They were down to Surfers Paradise, whatever. But I was on my own. I walked 3.5 hours right down to Burleigh on my own. And I was comfortable in my own skin, comfortable with my own company. But I did notice, for the first time in 5 years, I'm on my own. This is a bit lonely. I'm not sharing this with anyone. It's hard, Simon. Because
you're right.
Silence can be really noisy. Even though it's silent, it's noisy. There's always noise in your head.
I think everybody likes to have those moments when they're on their own, and the solitude can be beautiful and all that. I walked the Abel Tasman just before Christmas, did 5 days on my own.
Yeah.
By day 3, there's that fine line, and sometimes you just cross over between the solitude and the serenity is kind of nice, and then you tip into like, holy
shit.
There's only so much Netflix you can watch, and then it's like, oh. But so that's a real tricky one. And anybody that's lost a partner, or in your situation, Dunk, if if a marriage is broken up, which is really hard as well. That's just super hard, because so much happens as a result of that. You have those insecure things. It's like it's multiple emotions.
I know, and that's why I found that's why I wanted to chat to you today, because I found your coping mechanisms, talking about it. I suppose it's someone else sharing it, that you're not alone in that battle. That well, if Simon's going through this, then he'll understand. So and he's talking about it.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
I found you so strong, and so I found you. I don't know if I could have. I mean, you lost the love of your life over a period of time, and you're so public, and you're so open about it, and it helps others. Trust me, it does help others.
Well, it's really, really nice to hear. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've actually enjoyed the chat, because normally what media is like. You get 3 minutes and stuff, and it's very hard to convey.
Yeah.
But I am open about this stuff, because it's the more I go through life, the more I realise we're actually all the same.
Yeah,
We're all similar. Like, my parents got split up and divorced twice. Jodie's parents were split up and divorced. You've had it happen to you. So we all get it, right?
Yeah, we do.
And there is loss, 6 degrees of separation, all that. And so the emotions are the same. It's just, so thank you. It means a lot to me. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the future will bring, because I am lonely for Jodie. And as I said to somebody recently, it's not about having somebody else in my bed. It's having Jodie. And so I can't imagine ever kissing another woman. This
Even if you were talking, even if you and Jodie, let's say we're in the same room, and I saw this with my mum and dad over time, if they went out for dinner or they went somewhere, went for a walk, they didn't talk for, say, 10 minutes across that stretch. It didn't matter because they were together.
Yeah.
Her presence was there, you knew, and you could talk to her at any stage when you wish.
Yeah.
But we can't now,
No. Yeah, it's a bizarre thing. That's it. That's the unknown stuff. You go, how does that work? But
So what do you do? What do you do for when you're not working and you're not with the kids?
Good question. Well, for me, funnily enough, it's been the gym, Duncan. I met Jodie 35 years ago at Les Mills. Hadn't been back to the gym. We got married and had children. Didn't go back to the gym for 30 years, practically, and then did this thing for More FM, this radio campaign, and started going back. And that was really good for me, mate, because I'd got a wee gym at home, and I'd just train in there. Well, not training, exaggerating. I'd just do some exercise, but that was for my head. It was on the treadmill or doing a few weights. It was just for my head. And Jodie had a buzzer because she couldn't call out, so she would buzz me, and I had just a wee alarm thing if she ever needed me. And I'd only do 40 minutes. That's how I did it. When Jode passed away, I went back into the gym, and it was awful. It was just awful.
Yeah, they can be horrible places. Yeah.
Oh, it was horrid. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do it. And I'd be on the treadmill just sobbing.
Yeah. Listening to your favourite songs.
Yeah. Why do people do that, including me? I listened to the saddest songs because I wanted to sob. But then I hated it.
I do that too.
Yeah.
When I just hear my dad's favourite songs and I'm in the car, my eyes streaming,
I know.
Am I tragic?
It was terrible. But anyway, I went back to Les Mills, and it was really, really hard for me. I was like a wee boy starting school on his first day, cut my lunch, and got my bag all packed, went there, and it's actually been a real blessing because I'm not chatty Cathy or anything, but hey mate, hey John, hey Aaron, and I just see a few people now. So I go pretty much every day, and if I don't go to the gym, I go for a walk through the forest every day, do something, because I've realised it's not the physical thing for me, it's actually the mental, and I'm getting better at it and I like it. And so
it's so amazing.
I do it every day, Duncan.
It's so amazing what you're saying.
And so that's good. Plus my kids and my grandkids really are, they're beautiful girls and kids, they come home and stay here, and that brings me a lot of joy, real joy, like happiness comes and goes, happiness fluctuates depending on what's going on in your life, but joy, and innate joy, remains through circumstances, all circumstances. And when I can be entirely miserable and see those little kids come in my house, they go, "G'day, Chief," and I go, "G'day, my darling boy," and then I've just my life is better.
I'm the same. Oh my God, this is a couple of things I want to say in reply to that. That there's no love like the love for your kids, and it's just and until you're a parent, you won't. I'm not having a go at non-parents, but you just don't know that love, that connection.
Yeah.
And my 14-year-old boy, he means the world to me. And if I don't have him for periods of time, I just go into a hole.
Yeah.
Because I've invested so much time and effort and love into this guy, and he returns the favour. He's such a good boy. And not without fault, let me say, just like me. He's just a bit like me. Yeah. But I look at him and I think, yes, you can be anything, do anything, and that's what makes me happy. I'm smiling because I'm going to go see him shortly after this. Yeah. That's what you got to hang on to, Simon. All that sort of stuff, because that's Jodie too.
What's that?
That's Jodie, as well.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I see her in my kids and my grandkids. And I remember reading this book, and they interviewed the world's first billionaire. His name was Harold Potts, I think, from memory. And a journalist said to him, "What's your greatest investment you've ever made?" And he said, "To invest in family."
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten it, because I thought, man, that's like the Warren Buffett of the day, back in the day, to invest in family. And it's an investment that is always paying handsome dividends, always, always. Even in the crap times, investing in family, if your children are going through a hardship and you get with them, that's gold. I remember when the kids were little, I made a thing, and it was quite time consuming because I was busy at work like you. There's a lot going on. I was doing TV shows and radio and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I always said to each child, you've got 10 minutes every night, bar none. 10 minutes, Dad will come into your bedroom, sit on your bed, and we just chat for 10 minutes. And sometimes it went well over that, never under. But every kid got it. And it was an investment.
Wow, that's time, Simon.
Really
That's
taking
huge.
some dividends.
Yeah. God, I remember putting the kids down, and Helen Clark would ring to have a go at me about a story or something I'd done on the news. And so if we had the news, I just turned my phone onto silent for the last 20 years, basically. If I missed the call, it doesn't matter. No one turns up to a funeral and says, he wished he worked longer, I mean, no one ever does that. But your investment in kids early pays huge dividends down the track because they never forget it. I'm thinking now about what Mum and Dad did for us. Not enough huge means, but they did everything possible to make our lives good.
And in this 2025, so much material is on the computer, just at an instant availability. And there's a great book that I read called Breakthrough Parenting. And again, it was just really resonated with me when the kids were difficult ages, and me, alpha male, Jodie, a bit more sort of facilitated everything. And the line in the book said, again, I hope I get this right, but said, in matters of taste, swim with the current. In matters of principle, stand like a rock.
Yeah.
In other words, your child comes home, they say, I want to get pink hair. Well, get pink hair because it's just a taste thing. My daughter, one of my daughters wanted to wear one glove like Michael Jackson back in the day. And it was ridiculous, but that was a taste thing. But a principle thing, taking drugs, we were firm on that, said, look, why do you want to do it? We were never, we just said, why do you want to do that? What's going to happen if you're at a party and somebody offers you a joint and they're your only ride home? Do you take it? So we had all those chats very young because I just wanted to sort of be ahead of the curve almost.
Yeah. Well, I had my daughter came home and said to me, this was a number of years ago, that she'd been offered a joint at a party. And I said, what did you do? She goes, I tried it. And I said, why'd you do that? And she goes, well, I tried it. It smelled horrible. I had a quick taste. It was yuck, and I'll never do it again. I find it gross. And I said, thanks for being so honest and telling me. I thought she was going to tell me she was pregnant. But that honesty, oh man, it was something that I was never into. At our school, there was the element of 6th and 7th formers. They started in the 80s dabbling in marijuana. Like my daughter, I hated the smell and couldn't deal with it. But I'm glad all those years later she was honest with me.
Yeah.
Reward them for that.
It's a big thing. Kids love authenticity, like from their parents. Just be true. I've tried marijuana a couple of times. I am one of those people that it just didn't never work for me as a youngster. I became incredibly paranoid. I thought the whole world was out to murder me, and I thought, why the hell do people do this for fun? This is a nightmare.
What's the fun part? You want to eat? You want to have a pie and go to sleep? I mean, I want to. I can do without that. But I've lost a mate through his addiction to cannabis, so I'm quite strong about it. When I say lost a mate, he's still alive, but it's pointless, So,
and that's the hard thing for parents. Like parents whose kids get on it, whether it's marijuana or methamphetamine or cocaine seems to be the drug of choice for a lot of people now. The thing is, as a parent, that's really scary. What it would be scary for me because you kind of lose them, and there's no amount of reasoning, rationale is going to suffice, and that's scary.
I was brought up around alcohol, parents drunk, and they were happy for us too, and teaching us to, and all that, played rugby and all that in that environment. I don't drink now. It's not on any principle. I just don't think much good comes from it, especially late in the evening. So my son has never seen me. He's probably seen me drink 2 or 3 beers in 14 years.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to be drunk in front of him.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not. What's good about that? So. Yeah.
The good thing is, Duncan, it seems to be that younger people are going away from alcohol.
Totally.
It's MDMA or whatever it is, probably, but they're definitely going away from alcohol. I think the alcohol companies are trying their best to get young kids into it.
They are. I looked at the stats the other day. The numbers of kids smoking. Something like 1% of 17-year-olds smoke. 1%. It's so good. And
tobacco.
Yeah. And alcohol consumption's down. But I have found their new addiction.
What?
It's massive. The
phone, yeah.
I mean, I know boys that are doing 40 hours a week on these things.
Well, it's so easy though.
40 hours?
On your phone it says your time, what you spend on it. Like, that can't be true, but,
What's yours?
I'm the next person. you know. And it's not as young people, Duncan. My mum's 84. She doesn't get off the blooming phone, you know.
No,
But
same. Yeah.
the funny thing is, parents can say no, and they don't think they can. But we had a rule in our family: you weren't allowed a cell phone until you were 13. Sam, the eldest, she got to 13, and we'd always had this kind of mantra: you never break a promise. In the family, you can never break a promise. We thought that would encourage honesty all the time. She got to 13. Mum and Dad said, "Hey, you can't have a phone," and she goes, "What? You promised?
You broke
How?
your word. You broke your word.
It's just up in arms. You boo. You suck. You promised. You can never break a promise. You said that." I did the worst parenting thing ever. I said, "You can have whatever you want, and Dad and Mum will buy it for you. I can't have a cell phone, but you can have anything." So we went to it wasn't the SPCA, it was a pet shop, and she saw a poodle, and she said, "I want that poodle." I'm like, I did not want a dog.
Oh, no.
Right? I did not want a dog, and nor did Jody. And so we end up buying the dog, and then I'm walking out of the pet store, and I hear, and I turn around without a word of a lie. His twin brother, the dog's twin brother, is pouring on the glass, and I looked at the lady at the pet shop, and she said,
No.
"Brother," I said, "You're joking." Joe said, "We can't leave it." So we got 2 dogs, and they lived for 17 years.
Wow. That's a great.
Should have got a cell phone.
Or the cell phone would be much easier, cheaper. I mean,
Much easier.
there's another child. Having a dog's like another child. I mean, my son wanted a dog, desperate for one. So I told him to write me a letter of why he wanted it and how he would treat it.
Good idea.
The second line in, he said, "I won't like cleaning up its poo, and I don't think I will, and I won't, and I don't know what to do if I go away on holiday. But apart from that, I'll love it." And I said, I passed him the letter back and I said, "Your second paragraph means no." Means no. Because you failed the test, pal. And he gets it all these years on. He says, "Dad, you made a great decision." But the weak side of me, which is hugely weak when it comes to kids, I probably would have gone and bought it. And then what, you know?
But that is so true. They are as much work as a child, I reckon. Oh, man. But we ended up having 2 dogs, 2 cats, a chinchilla, and 2 rabbits.
Don't worry, I hate chickens and a rabbit too. But you do these things for kids. When you got the kids, you just do these things, things you would never do.
Yeah.
You know, you said you walked in the bush, you walked in the forest for a bit. You know, I did when I left Parliamentary Press Gallery. I was really stuffed up. 38, 20 years in the press gallery. I'd become a demon. I'd become like them basically. I'd become bad.
Right.
You know, I'd become evil. Oh, it was a horrible place to be. And so I wanted to go and find myself because I'm naturally I consider myself to be a kind, empathetic, soft person, not the prick that was at Parliament. And so I came to Auckland. And I walked in the Blockhouse Bay Bush forest area every day for an hour and a half before I went to Radio Live Drive in the afternoons. I was walked in the bush, not particularly for fitness or anything, but to smell the fresh air and to clear my head and to become a better person. And it worked. And, you know, you talk about walking. Walking's important.
Yeah, I think it is. The other thing people don't realise until you get away from it is just, and this sounds sort of cliche, but visual pollution. Your eyes are always feasting on messages, feasting on your phone, feasting on digital billboards, feasting on traffic, feasting on your information at work, feasting on the computer. And it's just exhausting. And it's not until you sort of unprogram yourself and go away on holiday, you go, "Oh my gosh, why is living in a tent for 2 weeks with nothing? Why is that so good for me?"
Yeah.
And it's visual pollution as well. And I think that's the thing the forest does to me. Like, I love music, put on music all the time. I walk through the forest and I've always put headphones on. One day I thought, what? Headphones on? Like, took the headphones off, put them around my neck. And the bird song was amazing, Duncan. I sound old here, but like just listening to the bellbirds and the tuies, I'm like, oh my gosh.
No, that's real.
That's lovely, real lovely.
No, that's so important too. And take your shoes off and let your feet hit the ground too. They reckon that works. I was at Little Barry the other day. You can't land on it. I was out fishing with some mates. And it was an hour off the coast, but humans haven't really been on Little Barrier. There's only been a handful in hundreds of years, really. So it's as natural as it would be. New Zealand would have looked like this. And I got there, the water changed colour, kingfish and everything were below us. We could see the bottom, and I thought,
really,
wow. I'd never been there. People talked about this. I thought, oh no, it can't be that good. It's amazing. The bush right down to the water. This is how New Zealand would have been. I could hear birds. I could see the fish. And it was just that was cleansing for me. It was like an hour counselling session. I felt so good about the world coming back. So we've got to get to nature. I take my kids hunting and we go fishing a lot. That's so important, all that connection. In the city, there's bad things, drugs, violence and all this sort of stuff, bad messages. But out in the country, I don't know, there's something more simple about it.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. Well, there's a place in Hawaii that sounds like I'm extremely well-travelled, and I'm particularly poorly travelled because Jodie and I I was working, I was saying, that's where we're going to go. We're going to travel once. I thought we'd be doing it now. So life's changed. But I actually got engaged to Jodie in a place called or just round from Hanamu Bay. Have you heard of Hanamu Bay?
No, I haven't, no.
It's this marine reserve in Hawaii. It's a reserve now. It wasn't always. And then there's a old movie with Burt Lancaster called From Here to Eternity. It's a famous scene. They're rolling in the surf. And I saw this and I'm like, man, that'd be a cool place. So I asked Jodie to marry me there. And I bought a coral ring, yes. And I hired a Jeep, went down. This is, 36 years ago. And I was so nervous. And I went down, I set a video up, and I've still got the video. I go, I'm just about to ask Jodie to marry me. She doesn't know. Turned the video off, went down and asked the question. It was lovely, really lovely moment. And then I raced back, set the video up, always been a television hog. She said yes. And about 11 years ago, I took our kids back to the spot, and it's just unchanged. And I said, this is where Dad asked Mum to marry her. And it was really quite a poignant thing for the kids, but it was, as you say, just exceptionally beautiful. But we're spoilt in this country for that kind of beauty.
We are. And you know what I found coping with things is when everything looks disastrous, you have a divorce, or you lose your dad, or you lose your wife, or the media collapses on you at the same time, your jobs are disappearing. I spoke to a guy I found really inspirational. I went to counselling like you. I went to counselling. I found it. And alpha male, I thought, what can they tell me? They told me so much about coping. And one guy said to me, just find 3 things in the world that you are grateful for. And my mum always said, be positive, you'll live long.
Yeah, that's nice.
And so what am I grateful for? All my kids are healthy, they're all alive, I'm still working, I still have a job and be paid, I live in a great country still. There's 3 things.
Mm.
I have a mate who's struggling with cancer at the moment, and he's got all the money in the world, but it can't buy him life. And so there are things to be for. You've got the amazing memories too. Amazing memories.
And I am so thankful, for having Jodie at all. I really am. She was the most incredible person. Is when you see real humility in action.
I know you talk about this.
Like real humility, Duncan, where you genuinely don't play the game. You don't be nice to people because you think down the track you might get something in return. Real humility. It's exceptionally attractive. And Jodie was the most physically beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. Still to this day, I look at another woman and I think, sorry, not a patch on Joe. Superficially. But she had this, she was selfless. All our kids, I've got boxes of homemade cards. We didn't do presents when the kids were growing up. Always homemade cards. They're all Jodie's cards from the kids say, Mum, you're so selfless. Mum, you're the most selfless person. And they meant it, I've been through all my cards. There's not one of them that says it.
What do they say? What do they say about you?
Just,
Dad, you're amazing.
Dad, we love it when you make mistakes. That's kind of it. Well, call me Tip the Tall Man. But when you see that in action, that's just beautiful. And she had that in spades. So
well, she put, from what I can tell, from what you've said, and I've followed everything pretty much, and what I can tell about Jodie is that she put you and the kids in your family unit and everything about their strength first and foremost, and that was her. She saw that as her job and her meaning in life. It's so amazing to find something like that.
Exactly, and if you followed everything, I've said it before in a story, but it's so true. It's hard to say this stuff without sounding cliched, but she said to me, after watching a movie, there's a line in it, and she said, we need to always remember to celebrate the extraordinary, ordinary life. It's very easy to say that, but exceptionally hard to do, because the ordinary life just seems boring. It's like, you kiss on the way to work, you go to work, you come home, kiss your wife or your husband, you put your kids down for dinner and and it just seems sort of boring. It's ho-hum, it's mundane, it's life,
Yeah.
But she loved that stuff.
No, but when you don't have it, you realise the gulf of how amazing it was.
Exactly. When it's gone, and it can go so quickly and so easily, that's a nightmare. And then you do go, I just yearn for ordinary. Just ordinary.
I look at long marriages, I look at my parents, and I see I failed in this. And my sister's been in Christchurch, been married a long time, and I really regard her highly for what she's achieved and been a fantastic mother. I've put her career on hold, fantastic mother and amazing. My mum the same. It should be, when I look at these long marriages and I see people celebrating 60 years, 70 years or whatever it might be, I stand and clap and honour those people because that's no longer talked about in society, about staying together and going through tough times and still remaining together. It's so easy to tap and get out these days. I honour those people. It's all old school, it's all old fashioned, and there's not enough of it,
Yeah, I agree. We went yesterday it was Jodie's birthday, 9th of the 2nd, 62, and I've got this wee bench that the council were very good to put a plaque in for her where I used to walk with Jodie and she'd rest. And when she was in a wheelchair, and I'd get her out and do her exercise. So we always go back there on her birthday or wedding anniversary or whatever. And I used to pull up to go. Jodie loved ice cream, and so because she only had one side that worked, I'd get her an ice cream from the dairy, and she'd sit there, and she'd just, I don't know how, she looked so angelic, just licking this ice cream. And yesterday, I was waiting for the kids to turn up, and this car pulled up beside me. There was this elderly couple, and they looked probably in their 80s, and both of them had a wee ice cream. They were both just chatting and eating their ice cream. And I looked at them and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so sad.
Was she scared? Simon, can I ask, was she scared of dying?
Didn't appear to be, Duncan. I mean, I think she was just really scared to be away from me and the kids. She lived for us. She genuinely did. So that would be the thing that was, we didn't talk about it a lot because I just chose to believe she was going to get through it. And we focused on that. Yeah, we really focused on that, Duncan. But she was so strong. That's what I say. It's just this incredible strength of character in everything, but didn't appear to be scared of dying because her faith was very secure. You know, she really, really lived for her faith. She had a real battle with our fourth child of postpartum, and never had happened before. She just got real flat, and she was in a bad way. And sorry, Mum, if this is too much. And the only way she got through that really awful time, she would sleep with her head on the Bible. She'd read the Bible. I'd read it to her. And she would just go to sleep with the Bible under her pillow. So her faith was rock solid, you know. So that was her absolute hope that we'll all be together.
You have to cling to that too. I better wrap things up too. My son will be waiting at school. We're meant to be going to play some rugby, teaching how to kick on the left boot.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, but the first thing that you talked about with the counsellor, you know. So it's been 15 years since I lost my best mate. He was truly my best mate, my dad. I have found that time actually does, it helps heal. Okay, so time it's just time it's like time in the market. You know, just time helps you distance the hurt. When the hurt comes back, as a song is played in the car, you just open up and it's a water well, but you're fond of the memories. So that's how it's got better for me in that sense. But some days, it's never the same because Christmases and birthdays, I hate them now. Because my dad was a joker. He was fun in life of the party and he brought the family together. He's not there. If the room feels empty, it's hard to smile, Simon. You know?
I really get that. The year before last, so it was only a month and a half after Jodie had passed away, 2 months, I didn't put a tree up. I said to the kids, I just can't do it. And we'd had a family photo. A Christmas, you know, we'd go and have a photo with Santa since Samantha, who's now 30, our eldest daughter. We've had a Santa photo taken every year for 30 years. It's just a time capsule. And I said to the kids, I can't do it without Mum. I just can't do it. We even when Jodie was very sick in a wheelchair, it was kind of comical in the air because she was on chemotherapy, and so we'd have the photo and she left Santa, left Valentine's, and then vomited into a bag. So heroic. But, you know, in a way, we'd sort of laughed and we said, don't do that the next year. And the next year, exactly the same thing happened. She was on chemo, just bad timing for Christmas and that. And, you know, but we still persisted with the photographs. And so last year I said to the kids, can we do this? But we did. We went through it, Duncan, because you do have to go. You do have to do it. I'm not articulating this very well, but we sort of said, no, we're going to, in honour. Sounds dumb to people, your Santa photo.
No, it's tradition.
Didn't put the tree, exactly, we were really strong on that tradition. Didn't put the tree up. This year I really wasn't feeling it either. So, you know, I was just like, no, I don't want to do this because we'd always loved that. We'd put on music and da-da-da. Yeah. But my grandchildren came around and they said, Chief, shall we decorate the tree? And they were like 5 and 3. And I'm like, let's do it. So we got it out of the loft and it was lovely. It was real lovely. But tinged, you know, loveliness, but this also a heartache. Literally felt like a heartache.
I dread Christmas Day for those reasons. You're so right. We do it when the kids were younger, but I find a struggle now to get myself up for that occasion because Dad was so much part of it, and I just can't. I can't fake it,
And people don't understand this. I have bored you now, but there was a woman I used to know and still know, and she's lovely. She lost her dad 10 years ago, and she took a day off work on his anniversary of his birthday. Now, if I'm really honest, she was something I worked with. I was like, come on. How long are you going to keep taking a day off for the dad's birthday?
for the rest of your life.
I hadn't lost Jody. Now I've lost Jody. I'm like, you take it every anniversary off if that's what you need to get through it, because it actually, that part of you, there's something exceptionally somber about waking up in the morning. Said Jodie's birthday yesterday, we all met. I woke up in the morning, looked at her photo, said, man, I miss you, love. You would have been 63 today. It's just, I can't explain it. I keep saying in my head, it's just another day. The pain's real every day. What's the matter for a birthday or a wedding anniversary about those days? And then the texts start coming from people, very, very well-meaning, caring people. And they say, happy birthday to Jodes. And it's just, you're always reminded. And
it's a trigger point.
So
yeah.
I feel you.
And it's the drive to work. It's the going past the park. It's, whenever I saw the Lions play, I said to my son, this was the last game I went to with my dad with the Lions. Just, there's so many triggers, songs, places. There's things that we thought were stupid when we were young. Like, they always took us to some beach, same old beach. But now that beach is really important. Just, I know it's all that stuff. Just before we go, Simon, and thank you so much for chatting. And you've been,
I've loved chatting with you. Thank you,
it's been
mate.
amazing. Being back at More FM, what was it like walking back in that morning that you? Because they're so excited to have you back. I know that they didn't cope without you very well. They really wanted you back, and they've got you back. Were you nervous coming back in, and because it's family stuff?
I was. Do you know what I felt, Duncan? I felt a sort of because there'd been a bit of chatter about it, I felt this burden of expectation, and there's kind of an awful feeling. I was wondering whether I'm competing with my own ghost here.
Yeah.
Whether people are going to go, listen and go, I used to think he was funny. Like, he was real good back in the day. What's happened to him? I was really worried about that. So that's that sense of competing with your own ghost. It's like, can I do this anymore? And that's not for me to say now, but the feedback's been good. The team are genuinely, I'm not saying this because they're my workmates now, they are great. I really feel there's life in this breakfast show for potentially 6 to 10 years. They're all exceptionally talented. I can trust them. I have been, though, very fortunate over the years with my co-hosts. They've always made me look good. That's not me being humble. That's me telling you how it is. I don't know why. I think it's God's blessing. I'm not the funniest guy. I'm not the most creative guy. I'm not the most talented guy. But for whatever reason, I've seemed to have had a reasonably lengthy career. And I just feel exceptionally thankful, Duncan, that at my age, 58, I can still do something I love. And it is a privilege for me. I drive to work I was telling your producer, I drive to work, probably 4:15. And I'm driving, the roads are dead quiet. And I'm like, I'm very, very thankful for this job.
Yeah, you like waking up in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've listened with you when you were with Gary, and I just thought you were brilliant. You guys, the way you bounced off each other, I thought this is, I would, and so I've always followed you, and a lot of people say, oh, well, that's unusual. You listen to Radio New Zealand and political news and everything. No, I'd want to get away. I'd want to get away from all that stuff because, like as you say about talkback, my head just consumed with this stuff. You didn't know what to think half the time, and so. I
appreciate that, Duncan. I really do. And I think I've learned to appreciate the job of actually being a music host a bit more, in that if you bring humour, I've always downplayed it, sort of going, well, it's just lame humour. You tell a few gags and what does it matter? But over the years, and you'll realise this, you'll know this because you were part of it, life can be real tough and it can be real busy. And sometimes if you make people laugh and they're suffering a hardship, that's the greatest thing. I feel really thankful to do that.
110%. People go to work as wage slaves for a boss they don't like in a job in a factory. Most people don't have jobs like this, and their life is not great. Well, they don't think it is anyway. As they drive to that work or in the earphones, they hear you say something and they laugh and they smile, and that might be one of 2 or 3 times they smile in a day. And so it's really crucial, and I think that's what you've brought back. You've certainly brought that back, and I know you don't even try. It's because I reckon it's experience. I reckon experience matters. The most interesting conversations I have with people, they're always, nothing against young people, but they're always a bit older. They got something to say and something to tell and some landmarks to go against and some sort of, some markers, and and you don't even let your guard down. You're just authentic. That's what works.
Oh, that's the greatest compliment you can give me. I mean, it really is, because I do want to be that, and that's something that I felt really keenly with this whole journey with my lovely wife. Is I felt like, for again, whatever reason, not being fake humility, people come up and they are really caring. They're like, I've followed you since you were on What Now? I saw you on Face the Music. I used to love Clash of the Codes. I watched on Wheel of Fortune. I listened to More FM. I listened to ZM. And like that, I don't take any of that for granted.
No.
I truly don't.
I know you don't. I know you don't. I know, and you approach every day. You're hard work, and you approach every day like it's the first day. I'm 50. I'm 50. What am I? 50. I'm 51 soon, and I'm still as excited to be in this job as I was when I signed up as an intern at TVNZ when I was 21. It's never about money or anything. It's about people and job, and I love all that. Paul Holmes taught me that, and so when people come up and give you a compliment, I stop and I listen. When Today FM went under, I wrote a piece for the Sunday Star Times with tears streaming down my eyes because we went under in a year, and people were so connected early on to some of that stuff that I was doing on there, and so I got 800 emails in an afternoon.
Really?
800 emails, and I still haven't got back to all these people. They said the most amazing things, and I've tried to reply to most of them, saying just thank you. It humbles you how people follow you and how people give us stuff and care, because you share so much of yourself,
I choose to believe that actually 99.9% of people are good, Duncan. They are caring, and if where you were based in news and where I was in news, you kind of get a skewed view of the world.
Oh, totally.
You actually do. It's a bit like, if you spend any time in a hospital, you just feel like the whole world's sick.
Yeah.
And then when you go out of the hospital doors, you actually go, you know what? 99% of the world's healthy. Just in that building there, is the sick. And it's a bit like that with news. You just get a sense the world's gone to hell in a handbasket, and it actually hasn't.
No, look, you're so right. I left Parliament as a mongrel. I'd become a mongrel. I'd become a person I didn't like, and so I've just the last 15 years just spent so much time being myself, and I've found myself to be a totally different person to that. People say, "Oh, you've gone soft cock," and I said, "What does that mean?" And so I'm just who I am. I can prosecute if I need to an interview, but I like to hear people.
Yeah.
Talk to people,
Everybody's got a story. That's the shame of politics in the world over now, is it's like you're on this side or on that side,
Correct.
never the 20 for me. Actually, I like listening to people that have different political views. Remember?
Yes.
Really? Is that what you think? Tell me why. They tell me why.
Let them convince you. Let them convince you. David Seymour's being shouted down all the time at the moment. But hang on, just stop. Don't take his microphone off him. Just listen.
Yeah.
That's a debate.
And we genuinely can agree to disagree and go, but at the moment, I don't know what it is, but there's that.
Oh yeah, we've become America. We used to agree. We used to agree to disagree. Now we've agreed to hate each other, and it's not a good place for New Zealand.
Yeah.
I should let you go. You've probably got grandkids coming in shortly. My son will be wondering if I've forgotten him. I'd never forget him.
No, well, you know what, mate? I've got to cook a meal, and that's something I never did. When Jodie got sick, I had to instantly learn how to cook. I'd never cooked.
Wow.
I had it. This is a shameful admission. Like I said at the start, we had a genuinely old-fashioned marriage.
Great.
Jodie just took care of everything. I didn't know how to do GST. I didn't know how to do anything. The tax department, I owed them money, and then they kept ringing me, and my wife was dying, and I'm like, I don't know. I do not know how to do this.
I know.
And I couldn't learn it because my head had blown to pieces, and so I just rang my accountant. I said, hey, can you get the tax department to sort this out? And I've learned to cook, and now I'm quite a handy wee cook. So I quite enjoy it. So I baked my first baking the other day, some protein muffins.
Did you make protein muffins? Oh dear, you've admitted that.
Very good.
Hey
Very
Simon,
good.
It's been great catching up. I just want to say thanks for what you do and your service and your humility and your openness, and it's really helped me. Honestly, helped me. And I sometimes go back, and the reason why I could quote you some of the stuff is because I've read it all and listened to most of it. So, I really mean that, and thank you so much.
I'm really grateful to you for the time, mate, and for your podcast listeners. Duncan, not just for this, he sent me the most lovely, heartfelt email, and it truly means a lot to me. I just am grateful, and it's grateful to hear your heart too, mate. So thanks for the time, and hope I haven't bored people to tears.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you, Duncan.
I can do another 3 hours. Okay, mate. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Bye-bye.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, okay. Simon Barnett, boy, he's one hell of a man. He's such a distinguished, recognisable, and trusted bloke in the face. Hey, you're in the Christchurch office, Isaac, with him. You see him around?
I am in the Christchurch office. Yes. Yeah. I do. Yep. I mean, I'm here while he's doing a show with the More FM Breakfast Club.
You're there at 4 a.m, mate.
I'm not there at 4 a.m. I arrive pretty much as he's finishing. But Simon's a real inspiration. I grew up listening to him on More FM in the morning. Canterbury lad myself.
Yeah.
Yep. So, it was him and Gary in the morning. Was what I grew up to.
He's iconic in Christchurch, eh? I mean, he's
very much iconic in Christchurch.
Yeah. Wow.
No, he's definitely he. If I was to trace back my influences in getting into broadcasting, he would definitely be one of the first ones.
Oh, cool.
100%.
Right, we can blame him. Okay, nicely said, mate.
Duncan Garner. Live.
Hey, I just want to say, I know I had to go at David Seymour at the start of this podcast, but I want to be fair because that's what we do. You know, we smack anyone, but we'll also reward anyone. And everyone suggests that David Seymour is anti-Māori and is racist. It's such a lazy commentary. David Seymour set up the charter schools funding, and David Seymour set up the charter schools idea. It's Act's idea. It's his baby. Okay? So take away the heat and noise of everything. It's his baby. So that gives power and authority to community groups to set up their own schools and so forth. St. Stephen's Māori Boys Boarding School is a famous old boarding school that went under and has been shut for 30 years. It's now back up and running as a charter school thanks to David Seymour's idea and David Seymour's funding. So all these families, the Harawetas, Shane Jones, all these old school Māori families will once again send their kids to this school, likely because their school is back open again after years and years of being derelict and closed down. There was no hope. Seymour has allowed St. Stephen's Māori Boys School to open again. How is that racist? And are Māori going to recognise that from Seymour? Does he get mentioned for that? Or just the lazy old guy Williams, you're racist, you don't care, you know? I just want to I've given him a brickbat at the start of this, but I want to give him a bouquet and say, hey, well done, you're empowering groups, and St. Stephen's can honestly say they're open because of your policy and the money you made available. Yeah, okay, that's us. Thanks for all your feedback and your support. Get in touch through our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok and, of course, Instagram. Or flick us an email at duncan@rover.nz. It matters because you get hold of me, give me an idea, and we'll do it. I can't be everywhere, eyes and ears, so you help me. To my team, Isaac, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Boss Willie, so he's in the house, and Lockie, thanks guys. We'll do this again tomorrow. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal. There is no curtain raiser. This is it. Enjoy it. We live in one of the best places on earth. Get out and have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Take care, New Zealand. Ta-da.
Duncan Garner. Live.